Newsroom, I'm Don Ma. Authorities say the man suspected of killing Charlie Kirk told another person in a text message that he would assassinate Kirk. They also say DNA evidence links back to the suspect. He knew him, worked with him, and debated alongside him. Comedian and filmmaker Rob Schneider joins us to reflect on Charlie Kirk's life and what this tragedy says about the world we live in now. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. and China have agreed to a framework of a TikTok deal, which we know so far. President Trump threatens a national emergency after D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser refuses to cooperate with ICE, what we've learned so far.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. The U.S. continues talks with China on trade as well as on the video app TikTok. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent now says the two countries have made progress in the TikTok negotiations.
We have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal, but we do have a framework for a deal with TikTok.
President Trump posted a deal was reached on a certain company that young people in our country very much wanted to save. They will be very happy. TikTok faced being switched off in the U.S. on Wednesday if Chinese owner ByteDance didn't agree to divest. U.S. officials have long praised security concerns, or rather raised security concerns over the China-owned app. Bessent says he doesn't want to give more details on the possible deal before Trump speaks with Xi on Friday. U.S. chip giant NVIDIA got hit with some unpleasant news. China's market regulator today said the company violated the country's anti-monopoly law based on a preliminary probe. Shares of the company were trading down around 2% in the pre-market. China opened an investigation into NVIDIA last year over its acquiring Mellanox, an Israeli technology company. The company creates network solutions for data centers and servers. China's market regulator says NVIDIA violated China's anti-monopoly laws through the 2020 acquisition and its conditions. It didn't provide specific details. NVIDIA last month struck a deal permitting renewed chip sales after their suspension. The terms of the deal stipulate that 15% of related revenue must go to the U.S. government. And earlier, NVIDIA responded with a statement saying, "We comply with the law in all respects. We will continue to cooperate with all relevant government agencies as they evaluate the impact of export controls on competition in the commercial market." Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is pushing the Securities and Exchange Commission to stop requiring quarterly earnings reports. Trump took to social media, Truth Social, today to promise, or rather propose, that companies and corporations report on a 6-month basis instead. The president posted in part, quote, "This will save money and allow managers to focus on properly running their companies." Currently, the SEC requires corporations to report their financial statements every 90 days. Half-yearly reporting would put the U.S. in line with Britain and several countries in the European Union. Authorities have new details about the man suspected of assassinating Charlie Kirk last week. Officials say they now have DNA evidence and text messages revealing a potential motive for the killer. We now go to NTD's Jack Bradley at Utah County Jail. Jack, break this down for us. What more do we know about the suspect?
Well, Don, behind me is where 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is being held without bail at Utah County Jail. Robinson is the sole suspect involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which happened last Wednesday in front of a crowd of thousands of people. Investigators are now releasing new details about this case, including that Robinson allegedly made text messages in which he said that he has the chance to kill Charlie Kirk and that he would. Additionally, investigators also say new DNA evidence may link back to the suspect, including a screwdriver found on the roof about 200 yards away from Kirk, where the shooter shot Charlie Kirk from, and also a towel wrapped around the rifle that was abandoned in a nearby wooded area. Here's FBI Director Kash Patel on this morning.
And I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody. The father informed us, per interview of him, that he looked at the video that we released that evening and the enhanced photos and identified the suspect. His family has collectively told investigators that he subscribed to left-wing ideology, and even more so in these last couple of years. And he had a text message exchange, he the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for.
Patel also said that the FBI is investigating a Discord app that Robinson was allegedly a part of with a group of people, and Patel said that there are more people to be investigated on there. Now, additionally, Utah Governor Spencer Cox yesterday said that while Robinson is not being cooperative right now, his transgender boyfriend roommate is being cooperative with investigators. Take a look.
He's not cooperating, but all the people around him are cooperating, and I think that's very important. There were reports yesterday that we can confirm that his roommate was indeed a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female. That's information that the FBI had mentioned yesterday. We can confirm that as well, and that he is cooperating with authorities as well.
Now, a large memorial was held in Washington, D.C. on Sunday with a group of about 85 members of Congress attending, a large number of Washingtonians, and also people from Kirk's home state of Arizona. Back to you, Don.
And Jack, the Utah governor has said that he will pursue the death penalty if Tyler Robinson is guilty. What are the next steps in this case?
Well, Robinson will appear for trial in his first court appearance on Tuesday, tomorrow. He faces charges of aggravated murder and also felony discharge of a firearm and obstruction of justice. But the aggravated murder one is the one, if convicted, he could face the death penalty on in the state of Utah. And also, there will be a large memorial service for Charlie Kirk on Sunday in Arizona, in a stadium that can hold up to 60,000 people, and President Trump said that he will attend. Back to you, Don.
Okay, Jack, thank you. And joining us now to discuss the assassination of Charlie Kirk is Kyle Scheidler, Director and Senior Analyst for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism at the Center for Security Policy and editor of the book Unmasking Antifa: 5 Perspectives on a Growing Threat. Good afternoon, Kyle. First off, how are you looking at the slogans engraved into the bullet casings of this case? For example, "Hey, fascist, catch." What does it tell us?
Well, there were a number of engravings on the casings of the found around the firearm, all of which are reflective of an anti-fascist ideology or an Antifa ideology held by the alleged shooter. There has been some commentary in the press that these statements also appear in various video games, but this is really obfuscation. The reality is that clearly the shooter had an Antifa ideology, he had an anti-fascist ideology, and he intended to communicate that to supporters of that ideology. And if you look out on social media, we can see Antifa groups, anarchist organizations who ascribed to this ideology, understood the message that was being sent to them, and they agreed with it.
So explain for us specifically, one of the casings had the World War II era Italian song, O Bella Ciao, engraved on it. What does that mean?
Well, O Bella Ciao is an Italian anti-fascist song that's very popular among the far left and in anti-fascist communities. It's the basis of numerous Antifa memes, videos, and the like. It would have been a very clearly recognizable symbol to members of that community, whereas to the rest of us, it's fairly obscure.
By your assessment, how credible or reliable are these indicators of ideology, like the bullet casing inscriptions?
Well, I think that the one clear, obvious fact that one has to consider is that the assailant murdered Charlie Kirk. So they did what all anti-fascists seek to do, which is use violence to shut down and oppose those they accuse of being fascists. So that is the fundamental anti-fascist act which the assailant allegedly committed. All Antifa groups will recognize through that act alone that the participant was an anti-fascist or was Antifa. So the idea that someone needs to be a card-carrying member of an organization in order to claim the title of Antifa is simply not true. All they have to do is take the actions that Antifa calls for them to take, and this individual allegedly did that.
Can we as well get your comments on, if you go online, you can barely, scroll past 5 posts before seeing someone celebrating Kirk's death, and this is happening in some circles. What implication does it have potentially on the normalization of political violence?
Well, here we see the fundamental strategy of Antifa, which is to create an increasing gulf between the mainstream political elements in the country. So obviously, conservatives are mourning the death of Charlie Kirk, but what we have seen is a number of individuals essentially rallying around Antifa's base ideology, saying that Kirk deserved this, that he did not have a right to say the things that he said on college campuses, and that ultimately one cannot be surprised if someone uses violence to stop you from saying such things. So Antifa is using this event as a provocation to force members of the left or the center left further and further towards their fringe ideology. And unfortunately, I think evidence suggests that they have been largely successful over the past years of convincing people to do this. We see politicians using language describing their opponents as fascists and Nazis who need to be opposed with force. We see media organizations defending Antifa members and Antifa organizations, comparing them to the soldiers who stormed the beaches of Normandy. So unfortunately, that propaganda is playing exactly into Antifa's hands the way that they intend.
And what role are online platforms playing, like, for example, Reddit and Discord being accused of fostering radical ideology?
Well, a lot of the actual activity takes place offline, but there are a number of places where these subcultures interact and individuals are able to participate. And we see that, appear to see that in this case. It also allows Antifa ideology and recruiters to reach out to people that they don't have firsthand interactions with in order to convince them of their cause and give them a place to bring maybe confused or uneducated individuals into their sphere and begin to radicalize them with this material. And that appears to be the case here.
So how do we protect ourselves against these extremist ideology?
Well, we need superior education for our federal, state, and local law enforcement officers. They need to understand what they are looking at when they see these kinds of slogans and images, whether it's online or in graffiti at a protest. If they don't have the education to recognize what they see, they are not going to be able to send alarm bells further up the chain to determine whether an individual or a group ought to be investigated. And unfortunately, we've seen that play out time and time again, that law enforcement hasn't received the training that they need on these kinds of cases to understand what they're seeing. And so after the fact, we find that they're often scrambling to identify the messages that are being sent by perpetrators like this.
And just one last question. How do we prevent political violence such as this from happening again in the future?
Well, ultimately, you can never completely prevent political violence, but I think it is very, very important that elements of the political mainstream, whether right or left, get out in front and say this is unacceptable, and specifically that Antifa and anti-fascist ideology is unacceptable, that labeling your opponents, labeling half the country fascists is unacceptable. Any other response, if it's a sort of a both sides response, is going to be insufficient. They have to specifically condemn this. act. They have to specifically condemn these far-left Antifa and anarchist actors and say that they want to see an end to it.
Okay, Kyle, thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
Coming up, we sit down with Rob Schneider, comedian and filmmaker. Stay tuned.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, US Weekly says whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 58? It's meaningful beauty. And now, with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing.
What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results, and I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing targeted treatment duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
And joining us now to discuss Charlie Kirk's legacy, his life and reactions across the U.S. is Rob Schneider, comedian, filmmaker, and host of the See What Happens podcast. So Rob, first of all, I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Don.
How are you doing today?
Good. You know, it's an extremely difficult time in America, but I'm very buoyed by the love that is being poured out and the what is a real energizing in what Charlie Kirk stood for, which was debate, discourse, and truthfully, like how exceptional the United States is. I mean, free speech was the foundation of all of our freedoms, and that's the fact that we can and should challenge each other's certainties, so that we could, get the best idea. That's what we need to continue to have an exceptional society, is to hear all ideas. And sometimes you're going to get stuck in a bad idea if you're not being challenged. And what's happened at universities all over the country is that they've been force-fed an ideology which is anti-American and against discourse, debate, and free speech. So it's seeing this as a watershed moment and a potential time for a re-energizing of what makes this country so special, and how it is and will continue to be the beacon of freedom all over the world. And the cornerstone of that is free speech.
Yeah, and Charlie said it best: when the conversations stop, that's when the violence begins. How would you say, what is his impact his work has had on America?
Well, I mean, when you would go and when you could see online now the talks that Charlie had with students, some of the things, some of the thinking that the students had not been challenged. And they were basically, they're not at university now. They're not teaching people how to think critically or to think for themselves. They're just cranking out advocates for an ideology that is illiberal in nature and intolerant in its outcome. So some of these presuppositions that Charlie challenged them, and it's great to see that the kids answering that challenge and wanting to be the thousands of people that were energized. I mean, now it's millions of young minds that are energized to be challenged. And that's what you have. You have to have that vibrancy, and that vibrancy comes from debate. And in speech and in freedom, you don't get smooth from smooth, everybody agreeing with each other. Right. You get it from friction. And that friction is people disagreeing. And that debate and disagreement is what constitutes a vibrant society and a vibrant culture. And that's why the United States is and will continue to be such a creative center of the world, because it is, and business center of the world, because it is that exact friction that that is the foundation for these incredible ideas of world, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Google, whether it's Elon Musk. It's the United States where these come from. They don't come from totalitarian countries. You won't see it come up in China because of the strict nature and control. So while that creates conflict, we need to make sure and do everything in our power to make it a nonviolent conflict. But let us continue to have that discourse and this debate so that the best ideas will continue to foster excellence and creativity.
Right, the freedom of speech in authoritarian countries like China, it's a privilege, but here in the United States, it is right. Can you talk to us about the nature of these debates that you had with him on university campuses?
Well, there is a real problem with indoctrination. In other words, these kids are being, I don't like to use any other, this term, force-fed, but they're not being told to think, they're being told what to think. And some of these things that seem pretty basic, that there's a biological sex and that they're divided into female and male, and that is something that is in our bones. I mean, the fact that we have to have this discussion says that there has been some real, mind-numbingly dumb things taught to our kids. So that's just one aspect of it. But also the, how our republic was founded against tyranny, and that the Second Amendment is to protect against government tyranny. and that how that is being manipulated. I mean, that is that we have the Second Amendment to protect our First Amendment, and that is an important delineation that we have to always remember and make. So there is a human body. I mean, Charlie respected the dignity of every human being with love, with Christ's love, and more than anyone I've ever known, to be a true reflection of Christ's light and love. And that is our calling as Christians. And so he would lovingly debate people and remind them that the sanctity of human life and the beauty of it all, and that it's, you know, seeing him talk about when, not as a fetus, you don't have a fetus shower.
You have a baby shower.
You have a baby shower. And I felt that he did it with love. And I felt that there was love back from that, those millions, or those thousands of kids when I would go to university with him. And I believe that there will be many, many Charlie Kirks now, millions, from kids who are moved and touched, and that will stand up. But he is irreplaceable. It was this summer that I'd realized he was a true, authentic American genius. And it really, I remember he had the intellect and the love of country. And that's something that that's what's being the dogma of some of these universities, is that they don't really teach or respect how unique and exceptional this country is. How in world history and human history, that the United States, as the freedom that we are endowed with by our Creator, it was fought for with blood, and that this is exceptional, and that the idea that it's just going to continue without our help is not true. We have to continually have eternal vigilance to protect these rights that we have. And it is really something for me. While this has been an extremely sad time, it's also seeing the outpouring and the appreciation for these rights. I think you're going to see we have now a different America that we've woken to from this tragedy. And I know that Charlie would be very proud of the people stepping up to re-energize these great, incredible American traditions of liberty for all Americans.
Okay, just one last question, Rob. What role do you think the media should play, and what do you think Charlie would have wanted at this moment?
Well, I mean, the reason I'm here is because the Epoch Times and NTD is a true source of news that has not been infiltrated or captured by whether it's the pharmaceutical industries or an ideology that is currently has been dominating the culture and dominating the news and our governmental agencies. So what we're seeing is not a revolution, we're seeing a counter-revolution against this woke or basically redressed communism in the form of redressed as tolerance, as manners, but it's really totalitarianism. So it's important that we continue to support and appreciate the very few outlets like Epoch Times, like NTD, that is going to bring you news. That's going to bring you news that does not have an agenda, but it's what happened. And then how you decide to interpret that is not coming through the lens of something that has a different agenda other than to inform and educate.
Okay, well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
It's
you,
such
Don.
a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, coming up after the break, there has been an increase in the normalization of political violence in the United States. That is the question. We talked to an expert of panels.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
In the mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love, your mind.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
NTD News, the fastest growing independent news source in America, bringing you breaking news from around the world. Expert analysis, investigative reporting, and original award-winning documentaries. We're known for our uncensored China coverage you won't find anywhere else. We cover the stories that affect you and shape our world without the political noise. We report from the heart with you in mind. Watch us right here on NTD News.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk is bringing widespread condemnation and reflections on his life and legacy. On Sunday, Washington, D.C.'s Kennedy Center was filled with a sea of people mourning his death. Several offered tearful tributes. NTD's Melina Weisskopf reports.
The Kennedy Center on Sunday overflowing with lines. Nearly 90 U.S. lawmakers attended. Public figures and friends gave speeches reflecting on Charlie Kirk's legacy and the impact he's made on the conservative movement.
Because I would not be in this position if not for the heroic efforts of Charlie Kirk, who turned the political tide among young people in this country and helped usher in President Trump's historic victory on November 5th, 2024.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said Kirk's message and legacy will be fertilizer to nurture young minds for years to come.
Standing up, fueled by love, to defeat hate, to defeat that evil and that darkness, and to speak the truth and defend our fundamental freedoms that are granted to us by God. Charlie lived this.
House Speaker Mike Johnson encouraged optimism to overcome despair.
The ground was shifted beneath us. We all felt it deep, deep inside. And in spite of that, we remember that our dear friend Charlie would never want us to be overcome by despair. He would want exactly the opposite. You know, Charlie Kirk recruited and trained and educated a generation of happy warriors.
Johnson reflected on Kirk's demeanor, saying he was never motivated by hate, but by love. The D.C. vigil was one of several held around the world. Turning Point USA has announced Kirk's memorial service will be held on September 21st. It will take place at the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
We're going to take a look at now some reactions coming in to Charlie Kirk's death. Senator Ted Cruz posted a video yesterday showing himself painting over profane graffiti on Houston's Highway 59. Cruz called the message hateful garbage and said that Texans don't have to look at it anymore. Kirk's killing has fueled concerns about political violence. American Airlines says it has taken action against 2 pilots accused of celebrating Kirk's assassination online. The airline confirmed those employees were grounded and removed from service. Vice President J.D. Vance is hosting the latest episode of the Charlie Kirk Show today. Vance says he is paying tribute to his friend and close ally.
Be bold. Charlie was a visionary. He was a luminary. He brought together people. He didn't just teach people how to speak. He didn't just teach people what to say. He didn't just teach people they could actually speak their mind on campus. He created a whole social network for an entire generation of young people. So I wanted to use this show today to advocate for Charlie, to talk about him, to talk about what kind of a guy he was, to talk about what kind of a man he was, what kind of a husband and father he was, and to take people, most of them from inside the administration, but some of them from without, who knew Charlie best, and to talk about what he meant to them, what he meant to this administration, and what he meant to the conservative movement.
Vance recalls meeting with Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, following the assassination and sharing stories with her about her late husband. The vice president says Charlie Kirk had been vital in President Trump's re-election campaign, especially when it comes to reaching young voters.
We have to make sure that the next generation of young people feels confident and courageous to speak their mind and to speak the truth. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why do we do this? Of course, we do this so that we can enact good public policy and take back our country. We're going to talk with senior officials in the administration about what we're trying to do to honor Charlie's legacy in that way.
Vance says he believes growing left-wing extremism is part of the reason why Kirk was killed. The vice president invited Kirk's friends and members of the Trump administration to the podcast to reflect on Kirk's legacy. They include White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Miller says that the White House will dismantle left-wing terror networks that organize doxing campaigns, riots, and street violence following Kirk's killing. President Trump said today that calling a national emergency and federalizing Washington, D.C. are all on the table. The comments came after Mayor Muriel Bowser said the Metropolitan Police will not cooperate with ICE on the matter of illegal immigrants. Trump accused Bowser of buckling under pressure from what he called radical left Democrats. Trump also criticized Bowser for crime levels in the city under her watch. Trump wrote on Truth Social that D.C. has gone from a dangerous and murder-plagued city to one of the safest cities in the U.S. after he deployed the National Guard there. The president says the place is, quote, absolutely booming with restaurants, stores, and businesses packed. President Trump said the time for being soft on illegal immigrant criminals is over under his watch. The comments come after an Indian hotel manager was beheaded in Dallas last week. The culprit was allegedly an illegal immigrant from Cuba. DHS says the suspect, Cobos Martinez, was released from custody at a detention center in Dallas in January. This after Cuba would not accept him because of his criminal history. President Trump will make an unprecedented second state visit to the United Kingdom tomorrow, joined by top American tech and finance executives. The delegation includes NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, OpenAI's Sam Altman, Apple's Tim Cook, and BlackRock's Larry Fink, as well Blackstone's Steven Schwarzman. Trump and First Lady Melania will be welcomed with royal pageantry, including a carriage tour, military flyover, and a state banquet at Windsor Castle. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to host Trump at his country residence for talks on Ukraine and lowering steel and aluminum tariffs. The two countries are also expected to announce a new tech partnership and multi-billion-dollar civil nuclear deals, which could power new AI data centers. Ahead of the visit, Britain revealed more than $1.5 billion in U.S. investment pledges from PayPal, Bank of America, and CoreWeave, with further announcements expected from NVIDIA and OpenAI. The U.S. and UK will sign an agreement this week ushering in new deals on nuclear power between companies in the two countries. One of the things the accord will do is make it easier to build nuclear power stations in both nations. The announcement of the deal comes ahead of President Trump's state visit to the UK this week. The British government says the agreement between DC and London clears the way for a major expansion of nuclear projects in the United Kingdom. It's also consistent with moves by the Trump administration this year to support nuclear energy. That includes measures to speed up reactor testing and expand uranium enrichment. Joining us now to discuss the assassination of Charlie Kirk is Taylor Hathorn, visiting fellow at the Independent Women's Forum Center for American Safety and Security. And we have Colin Wright, CEO and Editor-in-Chief of Reality's Last Stand and fellow at the Manhattan Institute. First of all, good afternoon to you both. Taylor, let me start with you today. There appears to be a rising normalization of violence in certain left political wing circles. There's evidence of extremism in this latest shooting, and we could look back at the George Floyd riots to see how violence was justified by so-called social justice advocates. How did we get here?
I want to make a very important point that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and this is a point that I'm innately aware of because of my work at Young America's Foundation years ago. But this is not a new concept, and this is not a new reality. The left has been calling people on the right Nazis and fascists since Barry Goldwater, Nixon, and Reagan. So this is not a new concept. It's just unfortunately where we are now.
Colin, what do you think about all this? How did we get here?
So, I mean, I agree this is kind of a long history, but I think there's been an upsurge in this in probably the last decade that we haven't seen before. So in the early 2010s, this is when I first started seeing this sort of extreme rhetoric on college campuses when I was attending UC Davis, for example. It was mostly from many like activist-oriented students. I just remember extreme labels like sexist, racist, white supremacist, even Nazi and fascist just being applied across the board, totally willy-nilly to individuals with just very minor views, questioning left-wing narratives about the gender wage gap or open borders policies, things like that. But this also went really virally mainstream, I think in 2017, where we had the actual racist Richard Spencer get punched in the face when he was out in public. And this spurred the whole, is it okay to punch a Nazi sort of question that went around the country. And many on the left said yes, but then many of us also warned that, well, we don't really trust the left to maintain rigid definitions of things because, you know, right now they can't really define what a woman is anymore. Their definitions tend to expand. So Nazi became fascist, fascist became just this general term for anyone that kind of disagrees with us on anything. And many people like Barry Weiss, they warned against this stuff. So our youth have been steeped in this type of rhetoric for about a decade now. And I think we're really seeing the fruits of that because this is parroted in many big political campaigns as well, just calling the opponents Nazis. So when young people hear that Nazis are the worst thing in the world, they're genocidal, and that half the country is supporting of Nazis, we really shouldn't be surprised when people take that seriously and take matters into their own hands and grab a gun.
Taylor, so you said that this has been happening for a while now, but do you think this time is different? You know, you have a very prominent person being shot in the neck in front of thousands, and on social media, you can find users celebrating his death.
I think on the right, we're generally not people who make a big fuss about a lot of things. We want to believe our beliefs and we want to protect our families and our communities. And I think the reason that it feels different now is because we have hit a boiling point where this is not appropriate anymore. And it's not something that those of us on the right are going to stand for any longer. You cannot assassinate someone because their words hurt your feelings. You cannot assassinate someone, period. But we have got to get to a point where left, right, and center, that is rhetoric that we all can agree with and understand that you cannot die for promoting Western values of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, expression, individualism. These things are things that are core tenets of our personality and who we are as Americans and who the rest of the world should strive to be and also looks to us to set an example as.
So do you see this as something that is perhaps amplified by social media, Colin? Because, you know, the things that's happening on social media, these comments, you know, sometimes they're so terrible. I have a hard time imagining, you know, in real life, a person saying this to another person to their face. So talk to us about the role that social media is playing in all this.
I think it's playing an absolutely massive role in all of this because, you know, before in the past when you had crazy extreme views, it might be hard to actually find others who agree with you. Now we have, you know, we have social media, you know, X, we have Blue Sky, there's Parler. Basically, you can just go wherever you want to these little internet enclaves that are completely sealed off ideologically from the outside, so they're not getting any pushback from other people. They're allowed to just fester and feed off one another in these communities. And so whenever someone says something extreme, there's no one to say, hey, that's actually extreme. It's all just self-reinforcing. And so this is what we're seeing now. We're seeing just this sectioning off of people into these ideological bubbles. There's zero crosstalk. And when there's no one using words to communicate with one another, words are all we have to bridge that gap between violence. And so when the words are off the table, that's when the bullets begin to fly. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Taylor, can I get a response to what you just heard?
Yeah, I mean, I studied journalism and media trends in college, and my professors, albeit more leftist, warned about this even 10, 15 years ago, that this is a path we were going down if we didn't have baseline taxonomies about what some of these things meant, what these words meant, how we used them, the respect that we chose to show each other. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we on the right need to bend a knee and just, simply only pray for people. There are responsibilities and duties that we have as Americans to vocalize our opinion and to answer a call when it is given to us. But I do think that we need to come together and get to a point where we can understand and agree that this is wrong and there's a person behind that screen. I think Charlie Kirk was a perfect example of someone who wasn't afraid to come out from behind the screen and communicate to people about things that he disagreed with. And the thing that he said that just stays stuck in my head is a society or a relationship or, any kind of dynamic that doesn't communicate is where you start getting into trouble and where you crumble. I grew up in the Middle East, and I have so many great, fond memories of my time in the Middle East. I'd move back there in a heartbeat, but we did not have freedom of expression. We did not have these ideals. My modern world history textbooks had the pages about the Holocaust ripped out of them. And I think that that's incredibly, incredibly important for Americans who haven't traveled abroad to understand that that could be us. It's incredibly arrogant of us to think that could never be us just because of the principles that we have and what we currently employ. But it can be us if good men and good women do nothing.
Colin, Charlie Kirk would have these debates on college campuses, and sometimes they can get really heated. You can disagree with him. That's fine. If you want to have influence like he did, you open your own platform. You do your own research. You bring counter arguments. You go to college campuses if you want to, like Charlie Kirk did. I would imagine you would get plenty of support regardless of what you stood for. What you don't do is shoot that person in the neck, and I believe in front of his kids and wife.
I agree. I mean, college campuses have somehow become some of the most anti-free speech locations on the planet, especially in the Western world now, where they historically have been some of the most open venues for free speech. Charlie Kirk has been trying to push back against that, as I have over the last 7 to 10 years, speaking on controversial issues, and he was doing it the right way. He was going to college campuses where you should be exposed to other views, where you should have your beliefs challenged, where you should be caused to think about things in a deep, deep way. This is what universities are supposed to be. It's supposed to be like this community of scholars who are debating and uncovering truth. Universities have really got off their mission of being disseminators of truth, organizations that discover truth and foster communication to discover truth. And they've just really kind of bent to this orthodoxy where they silence opponents. So it's extremely sad, but I think, we just need to take Charlie's lead. We need to pick up where he left off, because again, if we just say we're not going to go on campuses and talk anymore, well, they win, and then we're not talking, and this is when violence begins to escalate. So we can't let it get to that point.
Okay, Taylor, we just have about 30 seconds here, and if there's any bright spot here, it would be the thousands of people that are showing up for vigils for Charlie this weekend. Any comments on that?
I had the wonderful opportunity to attend the vigil at the Kennedy Center last night in Washington, D.C. It was an incredible display of people. I met several people on the left who actually attended, who just wanted to show reverence to Charlie's legacy and what this means for us as a nation moving forward, and how we need to band together and even in our ideological debates be willing to have a discussion. I actually got this little votive candle that's above me while we were there, and I put it on my bookshelf back here to remind me every time I go on air and anytime I'm writing something about why I'm doing what I'm doing and what we're doing as a community to try to make sure that we save this great nation.
Okay, Taylor, Colin, thank you so much both for coming on today.
Thank you.
Happy to.
Real-time voice translation technology has big tech companies competing with each other lately. But what changes to society might that cause to traditional language learning? Stay tuned for that and more when we come back.
Divinely inspired traditional oil painting inspires compassion. Artwork created in truth and beauty illuminates a path to goodness. Rediscover traditional art, revive classical culture. We warmly invite oil painters from around the world to participate in the 7th NTD International Figure Painting Competition, a celebration of classical realism. Please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
Food. It fuels our bodies, nourishes our spirits, and brings us together. Because we all need nutritious food to thrive.
Food gives me energy and it also helps me focus.
But not everyone knows where their next meal is coming from. And 1 in 7 people in America face hunger. It's tougher than ever for too many of us. But the simple truth is, ending hunger is possible, and it starts with you. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, to help families in your community facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. Your monthly gift delivers food where it's needed most, puts fresh food on the table, and helps kids have healthy meals all year round, even when school is out.
You can see the difference with the kids when they're full. Food is everything.
Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org. Give $19 a month. Your first gift can double in impact. And we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag as a reminder of how you're helping to end hunger for good.
When it comes down to it, it's about taking care of your family first and the loved ones that you need to provide for.
Food donations help me tremendously, and I'm very grateful for the food bank.
I have hope. The simple truth is, ending hunger in America is possible. You can help make it happen. The need is urgent. Call or go online now to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
Voice translation devices are becoming a competitive area for big tech companies lately, a field that has traditionally been very profitable for multi-language speaking people. NTD's Sean Marshall takes a look into the fast changes in the field of real-time voice translation.
The top big tech companies, Apple, Google, Meta, and OpenAI, are fighting for the top position in the real-time voice translation industry. But that also means possible big changes in the #1 type of job threatened by AI, translators and interpreters, along with 98% of translators' work activities, which could become different landscapes. That's according to a recent study done by Microsoft about understanding the effects of AI on the economy. But what changes can we expect to see in society, business, and culture? And what unforeseen effects of real-time translation can these devices cause?
Yeah, languages carry rhythm, tone, subtle meanings, and we don't know if that's all going to survive auto-translation. So over time, we might lose some of the richness and nuances of humor, idioms, some of the everyday expressions that reflect how us and societies think and feel.
Control over translation can mean control over political interpretations, open up access to new worlds of media, and connect people in the workplace that might have never spoken to each other.
Whoever controls the translation AI effectively controls cultural framing. So for example, does it translate certain phrases naturally? Will it soften them, misinterpret them? We're already seeing this issue across social and AI being integrated into that. And so that power becomes a hidden influence on how narratives are shaped worldwide.
Although real-time voice translation technology is not new, becoming widely available and easy to use on smartphone devices give way for a lot of new communication. Bob Hutchins, the CEO of Human Voice Media, mentioned, "The power to understand and create communication in multiple tongues has always been a potent competitive advantage in business, diplomacy, and everyday life. If real-time translation comes close to approximating that ability at scale, there will be a less market for rudimentary translation services."
I also think we may be facing an over-reliance on tech. If societies depend entirely on this auto-translation and systems go down, businesses depend on it, right? There could be critical infrastructure that depends on it. Then some sort of cyber attack, power outage, whatever may happen, people may suddenly be able to communicate.
Hutchins also notes that real-time translation devices are coming, and they will unlock some doors for human relationships. It's essential to watch what doors they close. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
U.S. military officers attend war games in Belarus today. The country says it has nothing to hide in its drill with Russia. Don't go away.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
America, young people are homeless, abused, in danger. Covenant House is helping young people with nowhere else to turn. But the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month. You'll help provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. Homeless young people are afraid and alone. Your monthly donation right now will show them they are loved and safe.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.